and laughing and jumping. Yeah, we're outside every day. No matter the weather, we're always together, and that's okay. Singing and running and laughing and jumping. Yeah, we're outside every day. No matter the weather, we're always together, and that's okay. So let's go play.
Hi everybody, welcome to our third chat and online show. Today I have a special guest, Beth Kimberly from Playworks. Hi Beth, welcome to us.
Hi, how are you tonight?
I'm doing well.
Thanks so much for having me join you.
Thank you so much. So where do you live, Beth?
I am in Chicago, Illinois, actually. I've been here for a little over a year now. I grew up in the Midwest in the United States, and I spent a few years in California, and now I'm back in the Midwest and living in Chicago.
Okay. Is it colder now? Do you have winter?
It was a little bit warmer than it had been. It was. I walked outside. It was 41 degrees this evening. So it was not freezing. A little bit more bearable than it had been a couple days ago. In fact.
Do you like snow?
I do like snow. I loved the beauty of being in California and how nice it could be, but I did miss the seasons, and though I don't always like to be cold, I love the snow and how gorgeous it is and getting out there and playing in a different way.
Okay, that's good. What do you like to do the most in the snow?
I don't think I have a most. I love that snow brings a completely different type of play. I love being able to build forts and snow and snowmen and things like that. And I think it's more of like the creativity that comes with being able to use it as a form of play.
Yeah, I agree. That's definitely something I think it's nice with snow too. So, what does Playworks do?
Well, Playworks, we've been working in elementary schools for about 16 years now, and we use play and specifically the recess time as a way to engage students even more in the school day and to improve their learning. We've been working in elementary schools for a while. We actually started in the Bay Area in Berkeley, California, but have since expanded the program that we are doing in the schools, where we hire one just like really fun, enthusiastic young adult to run a program full day in that elementary school to place more opportunities for play at recess, through a leadership program, through what we call our class game times. And we've been doing that in 22 cities now. And we also, in addition to doing that program with the coaches, we also run trainings and workshops with other adults and parents and community members who are doing recess and play and service programs. And more we've been connecting with parents and other community members who are just interested in the movement building and who are thinking about recess and how to make recess even better in their school environments.
Sounds great. But you also know that we are a little bit about free play too. So do you support free play as well? And because you,
of course,
yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Playworks isn't about eliminating free play by any means. What we're doing is we're teaching these games and activities that some of these students may not have learned as often. We found that some students, especially in these low-income communities, have less opportunities to play, and they get less outdoor play because either they have working parents or their neighborhoods maybe feel less safe. And so by using school where they all are, and recess where they all finally get that opportunity to play, and these class game times to teach some of these games that we used to be learning from our older peers and from connecting with each other after school. You go out and play until the street lights come on. By using the school time and the recess period to teach that, we can start kind of giving them those roles back, and to the ultimate goal is to turn that ownership over to the students. And we find that in a lot of schools that really happens pretty quickly as students start gaining that experience and start becoming leaders and learn ways to create play in these safer ways than if they haven't had as much experience with each other in that way.
Yeah, sounds great. So why is recess important? Why should we care about it?
Recess is so important, and it's like we're speaking to anyone who probably already very much believes this. There is this right to play, and it's unfortunate to see school environments not necessarily being able to recognize that as much, and feeling like they need to focus on these academic achievements, but recess needs to be a part of that, and students actually learn better when they get time to go out there and run around and have a great time, and they learn and they are able to come back to the classroom and focus when they get out there and play.
Okay, sounds great. I guess I have some of the topics we do in this kind of chats and talk shows is because parents tells me what they want to talk about. And this has actually been, I have parents talking to me, like coming with notes to me, sending me emails. They don't really tell me on my Facebook page, but they tell me like, at my school, we don't have a lot of recess. We only have 10 minutes. How can I change that? And especially maybe more in the States than here in Canada, seems to me more of the problem. What do you think parents can do when it's schools like that?
Mm-hmm, absolutely. I think that I'm finding more anecdotal parents who are really interested in making sure they have that recess time. Actually, being here in Chicago is a really great example. The Chicago Public Schools, up until this past year, there was a much smaller percent of schools that had daily recess for their students. They might have had some playtime, but they weren't getting it every single day out there for a long reasonable amount of time. And it really was, the final push might have been some of these politicians who are trying to put it into place. There's now a mandate in the Chicago Public Schools that requires every school to have recess. But what really walked us into that in Chicago was a lot of really parent groups and parent advocacy. Parents, like the group of Power Pack is a group, and then also there's a group called Raise Your Hands Illinois, work together to push for that mandate, and they got to know each other. They also learned a lot about what was going on and why it was important and what those policies were. So if you're just that individual parent at that school, I think the first step is going to be ask the students, ask the children that you're interacting with, but then also ask the teachers and the administrators and the other parents. So you're finding out one policy, then they're acted out. Once you find out that information, you're going to be more knowledgeable. You're also going to start, as you're talking about it with other parents, you might find other parents who are feeling the same way, and you can go from there and bring all this information, all these studies that are showing that recess really benefits students, that they're learning things, that there's the social and emotional learning, and there's this physical activity that's necessary and that's making learning better. Hear out what your administration really wants and what they're trying to gain, and then look at it from their perspective and see what you can to encourage more opportunities for play.
Okay, well, that sounds great. I think the thing is, being a parent myself, we do get a lot of, a lot of schools are stressed when it comes to a lot of other requirements, especially academics, and And also, we also hear the teachers are also saying, well, we also want to have recess, but we don't really know how. So I also think getting in dialogue might be very important as well. And that is maybe a challenge for parents group as well to really make that happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that starting that conversation can certainly can sometimes be a challenge, and also it can be a process. You might find out one day that your student says that your child says that there's only 15 minutes of recess, but then you kind of have to learn more, and then you're more and more going to find possibly more parents who are feeling the same way, and so just continuing that dialogue, and then every time you come across a study or an article or a great resource that shares the qualities of what this playtime is for your students as a whole, but then also for your students, for your children as they're learning, that process might continue that conversation, and you might need to come back to it. Some schools also have wellness communities. I've learned that there's actually one in every school in Chicago, and I know that some of the schools that I worked in California also had wellness communities. So looking to see if there is a group in your school environment, whether it's a group of teachers and parents, or just parents, or whoever who are thinking about the health and well-being of your children, might be a great place to start.
Yeah, that is important. And I know here in Canada they have initiative now about active, healthy schools, and recess is part of the things they want to talk about. And actually, in all kinds of weather too, which I think is great.
That's absolutely great.
But then it's another thing that I know happens here in Canada. It happens at our school, and it's recess punishment. Can you tell me what recess punishment is?
Yeah, I mean, I've read that some parents are experiencing, their children are saying that they. I'm hearing stories that the children are saying that they didn't get recess that day because it was taken away. Now, the reason a recess may have been taken away could be any of them. They didn't bring in their homework that day, or their class was acting out. There was a woman who was sharing an experience of how she was volunteering at her child's school, and in the lunchroom, the students were loud, and it turned out that they were being so loud, and that the entire class actually missed their recess. They had to sit there, which was really disappointing to hear. I think recess being taken away as a punishment is really too bad, because when they're kept inside, or when they're not allowed play, or at least move and stand up and move around, it's going to be even harder for the rest of their day. That they might come back to the classroom and not be able to focus as much. So I definitely would encourage schools and parents to work together to find ways, especially if it's an individual student, then you can work directly with that teacher and find alternative ways to help them behave in the classroom and to through on the things, but then also have alternative punishments that still allow them to have that time to be active.
Yes. I think a lot of teachers might find, I mean, they take this because that's the only alternative they have. I think maybe it must be. What other kind of solution is it?
Yeah. It does. It seems like the easiest alternative, I think, a lot of times when you're that teacher in the classroom. It's just like every student loves recess. Where it seems that, you ask kids what they enjoyed for at school that day, and recess is, typically number one, or at least one of the top ones. So as teachers in the classroom can encourage recess to be not taken away as a punishment, but to be something that they're looking forward to and a right. So some ways that I would offer as an alternative, and there's all sorts of lists out there. If you just do kind of some searching on alternatives to recess as punishment, you could probably approach a teacher with some ideas. And granted, you want to be really careful. You don't want to be going in there and saying, you're doing it wrong. But a teacher, if your teacher is looking for alternatives, if you talk to your teacher and they're looking for that alternative, teachers can get that support. Creating rules as a group, for example, where students have ownership over the rules that they've created, all of a sudden it's a little bit easier to get them to follow those rules, because it's you and your friends agreed that you weren't going to talk over top of each other. Like creating group agreements can really help set students up for success. Also have individual conversations with students, and then taking it to the next level, where knowing that you might need to have a conversation with them and their parent in order to find alternative ways for them to control themselves, and in that self-control, teaching, and as a parent we can do this, and as teachers we can do this, is teaching kids ways to calm themselves if they're getting angry or if they're having a hard time relaxing. Teaching them things like counting backwards from 10 so they don't yell at their friend for taking their pencil, or visualizing or taking deep breaths. So there's really a lot of different ways to make the classroom environment really fun, and then to work with students when they're having challenges, and provide alternatives to taking recess away. I would say that the best solution is this, but I would say that there's probably circumstances where recess where maybe they're not allowed to go play a game of Foursquare, which is their favorite game, because they've been acting out and they're having a hard time, but instead they do another activity. So they're still out there and they're still being active. At least they're having that element. So that could be another option that you could go to before those students aren't allowed to even be active and have to sit in the classroom.
Do you have on the Playworks, do you have handouts like this about alternatives about recess punishment?
Do have one resource. It's called 6 Alternatives to Withholding Recess Punishment. It's on our blog, so that would be an opportunity to take that and share it out with anybody. There's also a couple of other resources. I can go put this onto the Facebook page as well if you want me to share the link out there.
Okay. I just had. I'm just going to. We're going to continue this, but I just got on our Facebook saying from Brandy, who's in North Carolina. She said, schools are only required to give 30 minutes of recess. The kicker is it actually means any physical activity and does not require to be outside. It can also be an organized activity and not free time for the kids at all.
Oh, Brandy, that's disappointing. Hopefully, your particular teacher and then also the administrators in the school recognize the value of that free play, and that opportunity to get out there and run around and also socialize. It's really important to recognize that there is physical education and in these class-led activities that are really important. But then there's also recess, and they're not interchangeable. It's important that students get this guided in this physical activity and learn how to use their bodies and learn how to build those skills and be physical. But then it's also important that they take a break and pick what activity to play, and have time to even interact with some friends that they might interact with in the classroom. So I would definitely. So North Carolina state law is like, hopefully those schools are giving them the opportunity to do it, and it's really interesting. Every school is different. Every administrator takes on those laws in a different way. Some of us are really lucky to have teachers and administrators who recognize it and want to get the kids out, or even bring the students out an extra time in the day. And we're just really lucky to have that, and it's unfortunate when that isn't the case.
Yeah, it is. So what would you suggest for Brandy to do?
She's fine that her children aren't getting the 30 minutes of activity that's that they're getting the choice of how to play, then maybe find out what that individual school's policy are. Find out if there are other parents who are worried about it, and take in some of those that information. There's a great study of two different groups of third graders. One group of third graders got recess, and the other one, if I remember correctly, got an alternative to it, but it wasn't the free typical recess that we know of play. And students who got recess were more focused on the class better. So take those studies and other ones similar to it to your teacher and administration could be a step in the right direction.
Mm-hmm. And I guess it's really important to say you also need to ask around and find other parents who feel the same way. It's important as well. But it also is a challenge for parents too, because you don't want to be. It's like you wanna say what you mean, but you also wanna, you wanna get a teacher on your board as well.
You want to be that teacher, or you don't want to be the parent who's you don't want to be worried to be the parent that's always coming with another thing. So you want to listen, you want to hear where they're coming from, and make sure that you're really helping and supporting them and what they're trying to do and what their role is as well. So if you can get other parents on board who are helping you out, that is going to make you feel a lot better and probably be a lot more successful as well. I was speaking with a woman in Philadelphia the other day, and she has done some really great things in her child's school, and she says she's one of those parents who tends to go back. We should do this, we should do this. For example, when they have recess indoors, the students are in the classrooms, and so she's really encouraging the school administration to create a schedule so that the students at least some of the time get to go to the gymnasium during that recess time. And so she's trying to work with the administration to make this happen. And now I don't think it has happened yet. She is making those efforts, and she was telling me some other stories about how she was trying to improve the playground and make it an even more fun and exciting space to play. And what I really liked about what she was saying, and I'll share a couple of the things she did, was that she said, "I want to do this," and she got approval and she did it. So one of the things she did was the play space, the black. Didn't have a lot of lines and activities for them to play those games, and actually studies or there's examples out there of how, like, if you have the Foursquare drawn out or the hopscotch or whatever really fun games that you want to put on that, make it really fun and colorful, the kids are more active. And so she said, "I want to do this," and she got these paints donated, and she got some other parents on board and approval from the administration out there and painted the playground. And what she found when she did that is other parents started seeing other things that needed to be done. A father said, "Oh, there's no fence here. We keep losing balls over there. There's no fence. I'll come next weekend and I'll put in a fence." By being one of the parents who was trying to
I think it's important, like you said, you try to be the solutions and come and help the school instead of just saying this is wrong. Instead, we try to be part of the solution, and if you have the idea, you also know you have to stand by the idea and to help the school finish it. I think it's a good advice, right?
I think it's a great idea to just really do what you can.
Yeah, I think it's the same as the outdoor playgroups. It's like we don't have for schools, well, let's just start an outdoor play group because I want to have it for my kids now. I'm not going to wait for it. It's the same thing with the school. It's like, I want this change. Try to find somebody, be the solution, but also know that you have to stick to it as well. I think that's the bottom line. I think we just have to move on because we're starting to run out of time. So the last one we were talking about was it's very different policies on what is bad weather actually here in Canada as well. What would you suggest we parents can do about it? Do you have any suggestions?
Yeah, that what you're doing is great. Is you're encouraging you and other to dress well and to get out there and to build this resilience. And so if you can do that as much as possible in your community, hopefully that can go over to your school environment. But yeah, find out what those policies are. Find out who's making the day-to-day decision, because that might be somebody who's not necessarily following the policy, and just try to like be a support. Be somebody who, if you are able to volunteer on your playground, be somebody who's willing to be out there, dressed warmly, and be another body who's active to get the kids active as well. Another issue sometimes can be like just maybe they forget them that day. So if you can gather get them donated into a classroom so that the students who forget those have something else to put on, that they can be out there and play with their peers, then that would be another option. Giving them ideas on how to play and how to change those playground rules when it gets icy, or when a play space becomes a little bit less safe, can really your school environment and help your kids get out there and play. Rainy days as well. The activities change a lot when it's raining, but if we can hopefully get some more kids in some jackets and give them, and in the Portland area, of course it rains a lot in the Pacific Northwest. They have some overhangs which is a benefit, but some of the kids really like to be under that overhang and play where they're less wet on a rainy day, but then other kids still get to go out and play in the rain with their jackets on.
That's great. I actually grew up with those overhangs in Norway, and they are good to have. They are. Definitely with the kids getting older. Well, thank you so much for coming, Beth. We will get into on the Facebook and continue chatting about this. Like I said, is always so much to say about recess. And thank you so much again.
Thank you so much.
It's a beautiful day, 'cause I know you're right here by my side. Yeah, it's a beautiful day, so come on. Let's spread our wings and fly. La la la, la 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 la. It's a beautiful, beautiful day. La la la, la 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 la. It's a beautiful, beautiful day. If the sky is blue or it's turning gray, just hold my hand and it's a beautiful day. If the weather's cold or it's pouring rain, as long as I'm with you, well, it's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day, and the best part is there's another one on the way.